What is up, you sexy mother hubbards? It's time for an alternative paper review. Let's get it.
First up to the Sunday Express. Britain is not equipped for an all-out war.
Right, well, that's, this is not new information, is it? Didn't we just talk about this last week? Like, have you ever noticed how the right-wing tabloids, they just go round and round in a circle, don't they? One week it's inheritance tax. Oh, we've got to get rid of inheritance tax. Next week we're back to Rwanda and stop the boats. And it'll be a leadership challenge. You know, is Kemi or Penny Mordaunt about to overthrow Rishi Sunak? Who is it that's unhappy with Rishi Sunak and wants to install a brand new leader? And then blink your eyes and we're back to, tax cuts, inheritance tax. And all that again. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's good for me. I could just scan back over one of my old videos and rehash the same shit again and again.
Anyway, yes, this is the story that we don't have sufficient forces to be able to handle an all-out war with Russia.
Which is fine to talk about. You know, obviously it's a concern. If Russia did invade the UK, would we even be able to put up much of a fight, you know?
But really, again, for me, this comes back to being a story about Tory fiscal irresponsibility.
I mean, here you have a political institution who've been in power for 14 years, right? And over that time, they have borrowed and overspent and looted the public purse. Don't forget that. All of these cushy contracts that they dished out to all of their mates that they go for drinks with in the Carlton Club worth billions, where they overcharge for PPE and paper clips and everything in between. And it costs more, and so all of those billions go off to their mates. They still have to run the country after that, and that costs money. And so then now we're in a situation where they can't afford to pay the amount for salaries that they would need to attract people into a career in the armed forces. And it's the same in the police. They can't pay people enough to get the right caliber of people, the right number of people joining the police, the armed forces, teaching.
And so now we are where we are, which is where we're at risk that, like, if we were invaded, we would be hugely vulnerable.
Which, to my mind, and indeed to the minds of anyone who would claim to have anything close to intellect, right, that should categorise the Conservative Party of 2024 as a threat to national security, because the way they do business has exposed us to this risk. But according to the Tories, who is actually the threat to national security?
Quick, look over there. There's some brown people in a boat.
Let's move on.
The Observer today say Labour draws up an ultra-safe, bomb-proof manifesto.
Right, bomb-proof. Let's hope that it is, just in case Putin does get an itchy trigger finger.
Meanwhile, over to the Times. Boiler tax set to be scrapped.
Now, this is depressingly just the latest net zero policy that has either been diluted or reneged on or completely abandoned.
Like, it's wild, isn't it? That in a year where we've just had the hottest January, I think, on record, and that follows the last, 2 or 3, every year, records are getting broken.
There's bushfires, tornadoes, water shortages, floods. Like, how much more evidence do you need that climate change is happening and we need to reach net zero in this country? I can't speak for all of the other countries, but we need to start taking this seriously. And I swear to God, every week that goes by, I see less and less evidence of that actually happening.
And of course, what makes it all the more insulting is that measures like this, where this boiler tax is what they call it, it's not a boiler tax. It's a requirement for house builders, for property developers to install more eco-friendly apparatus.
And at the moment, that happens to cost more. It's like an extra $3,000 hit. But it's being marketed and framed back to the electorate as though, like, oh, well, we're the Tories. We're good. We're on the side of hard-working people. We don't want you, regular person, regular working class person, to be hit with this £3,000 hit over here.
But of course, regular working people were never going to be hit with this. It was likely to be property developers. At worst, it might have hit a few landlords.
And this is hot off the heels of Labour's abandoning their £28 billion Green Pledge. Like, everyone seems to be focused on how, what could win us the most votes, today? What could win over this journalist in this paper today?
Rather than exercising the leadership, which is what we need, of looking at things in a sort of medium to long term. Like, what are the chess pieces we need to lay out to achieve the goals that we need to do our bit in achieving net zero and totally mitigate the effects of climate change?
So yeah, I guess we're just, doomed to be cooked alive by the sun by 2050. I'm joking. Putin will probably fry us alive way before that. Guys, I've got to go. I'm on a day out with the kids. But I did do a live show Friday night, appropriate enough. It was called We Are All Going to Die Horribly. So go and check that out. It's free out to everybody now. It was on Patreon for 2 days, but now it's out to everybody. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Until next time, I'm out this motherfucker.